Charlotte counts the bills with practiced precision. Her fingers move automatically, 20s, 50s, hundreds, while her mind drifts somewhere far from this bulletproof glass cage. Her back aches from 8 hours on a hard stool. Her feet throb inside sensible flats 2 sizes too small because the store didn't carry her size. The bank is nearly empty now. Just Mr. Patterson at the far window cashing his disability check, and a young couple arguing quietly about their mortgage application. The door opens. He walks in. He doesn't look like their usual customers. His charcoal suit costs more than her annual salary. His thick black hair is swept back from a face that belongs on a magazine cover, if that magazine featured men with eyes like winter. His arms, visible where his sleeves are rolled to the elbow, are covered in intricate tattoos. Dragons, tigers, symbols she doesn't recognize. He's Korean. Young-looking, maybe early 30s, but his gaze is ancient, heavy as stone. He bypasses the queue entirely, walks directly to her window, sits down in the customer chair and stares. Just stares. Silently. Charlotte feels ice crawl down her spine. She's used to stares, mocking, pitying, appraising. She's a big girl in a world that never lets her forget it. But this one is different. He studies her like an unusual object, not as a woman, as a thing. "Can I help you, sir?" Her voice comes out steady, professional. The voice she's perfected over 6 years behind this glass. Whiskey, no ice. She blinks. "Sir, this is a bank." "I know what it is." His voice is quiet, low, emotionless. "I came here for you." Her hand freezes over the cash drawer. "Excuse me. What's your name?" "Charlotte. Charlotte Webb." Why is she answering? Why can't she move? "Charlotte." He says it like he's testing the weight of it. "I need a wife." She freezes. At first she thinks she's misheard. The security guard, Marcus, is still by the door. The cameras are still recording. This can't be. This isn't funny. Her voice comes out sharper than intended. Someone from work has orchestrated this. A cruel joke. She looks around, but no one is laughing. No one is even watching. "I'm not joking." He slides a business card across the counter. Heavy cardstock, gold embossing, a name, Hwang Dong-min. No title, no company, just a phone number. "Tomorrow morning, City Hall, 9 a.m., be ready." He says this so calmly, like he's making a deposit. Charlotte stares at his face. No smile. No hint of playfulness. Only cold, confident seriousness. "You're insane," she breathes. "I don't know you. You don't know me." "It doesn't matter. You're suitable." The word hits her like a slap. Suitable. Not beautiful. Not interesting. Not even acceptable. Just suitable. Like a piece of furniture that fits a space. She knows what he means. She's a heavy girl. She's been heavy her whole life. For men like him, men who look like sculptures and wear money like a second skin, she's invisible. Or an object of ridicule. So this is a joke after all. A cruel and humiliating one. "Please leave." Her voice breaks despite her best effort. "Before I call security." He slowly reaches into his jacket. She tenses, but he only pulls out a thick envelope, sets it on the counter. "This is for your time, and for your silence. Tomorrow at 9. No need for a white dress. Come in what you're wearing now." He stands. His movements are fluid, predatory. He walks toward the door, pauses, and turns back. "My name is Dongmin. Don't be late." The door closes behind him. Charlotte stands frozen, staring at the envelope. When she finally reaches for it, her hands shake. Inside, cash. More cash than she makes in a year, maybe 2. She looks at her reflection in the security glass. A tired face, dull eyes, a polyester uniform that stretches across her body in unflattering ways. Her dark curly hair, which she used to love, now hangs in limp spirals. He wasn't joking. That's the worst part. If you want to see what happens when a woman decides she's done being invisible, subscribe to this channel. Let's keep breathing life into stories that never got told. Now, let's continue. Charlotte doesn't sleep all night. The money sits on her kitchen table like an accusation. She stares at it, then at the water stain on her ceiling, then at the stack of bills she can't pay. The eviction notice she's been hiding from herself. The collection calls she's been dodging. She thinks about her life. 6 years at First National Bank. 6 years of "yes, sir" and "right away, ma'am," and watching people look through her like she's made of glass. 6 years of eating lunch alone in the break room because the other tellers go out together and never think to invite her. The studio apartment with the mold problem. The refrigerator that makes sounds like it's dying. The mother who stopped calling 3 years ago because Charlotte couldn't send money anymore. The father who left when she was 7 because, as he put it, "I can't live like this." She's 26 years old. She feels ancient, unwanted. He, Dongmin, looks dangerous. His world is a world of dark streets, money, violence. She felt it in every cell of her body. He's not just wealthy. He's something else. Something she doesn't have words for. Mafia, her mind whispers. Crime boss. The words feel right and terrifying. But he offered a way out. A strange, insane, possibly fatal way out. It wasn't an offer of love. It was a contract. And she's never had a good contract in her life. At 9 a.m., she's still at the table. She hasn't eaten, hasn't showered, just sitting there, staring at the money, at the card, at her own rough hands. At 9:40, something shifts. She stands up, goes to the bathroom, looks at herself, really looks, for the first time in years, the body that has been a prison. In the face that stopped hoping, the eyes that learned not to want. "You're crazy," she whispers to her reflection. "He'll kill you, sell you, use you for God knows what." But she reaches for her soap, her towel, the one nice dress she owns, a simple navy blue that strains at the hips but makes her feel almost human. She brushes her curly hair until it shines. She leaves the apartment, because staying would mean giving up. It would mean continuing this gray, hopeless life until it finally choked her completely. And this way, well, at least there would be some kind of story. Even if it was short. Even if it was terrifying. City Hall. 11 a.m. exactly. He's already there, standing by a marble column, phone pressed to his ear. He doesn't smile when he sees her, simply nods toward a bench. Wait. The procedure takes 20 minutes. They are both silent. Charlotte trembles as she signs the papers. Her hand traces a clumsy squiggle. His signature is a sharp, confident line. No rings, no kiss, no photos. They walk out onto the concrete steps as husband and wife. A black SUV with tinted windows waits at the curb. A driver she doesn't recognize stands beside it. "Get in," Dongmin says, opening the back door. She freezes. Last chance. She could run, scream, flag down a police car. But she gets in silently. The door slams. He sits beside the driver. The car moves. Charlotte watches her familiar street slip away through tinted glass. The bank where she spent 6 years. The coffee shop where she ate lunch alone. The bus stop where she waited in rain and snow. She says goodbye to her old life without speaking a word. The car passes through gates set in a high concrete wall. The house beyond is massive, modern, glass and steel and sharp angles. It looks like a museum or a prison. Inside, it smells of expensive wood, leather, and emptiness. Dongmin leads her through a gleaming foyer without looking back. "Your rooms are on the second floor. Kitchen is down the hall. Food will be delivered. Don't leave the house without permission. Don't touch the phone in my office. Don't ask questions." He recites these rules while climbing stairs, his voice flat as a recording. Here, he opens a door. It's an apartment within the house, living room with sparse furniture, bedroom with an enormous bed, bathroom with marble everything. Clean, new, impersonal, like a five-star hotel where no one actually lives. Clothes will arrive tomorrow. Tell Mrs. Park what you need. She handles the house. He stands in the doorway, examining her. His gaze slides over her figure, her face, her hair. But there's no interest in it. No attraction, only assessment. Like he's checking if cargo arrived undamaged. Why? Charlotte blurts. She hadn't meant to ask. The word just escapes. Why me? He pauses, studies her. Because you're suitable. He repeats his phrase from the bank. Then, after a pause, and because no one will miss you. He turns and leaves. His footsteps fade on marble floors. Charlotte stands in the middle of the vast empty room. No one will miss you. There's no cruelty in the words. Just simple, terrible truth. He married her because she's no one, because her disappearance will raise no questions, because she doesn't matter. She's a ghost in his palace, invisible under contract. She slowly approaches the window. It doesn't open. Beyond the glass, a manicured garden, a high wall, guards patrolling in the distance. This isn't a home. It's a beautiful prison. Days blur into each other. Charlotte rarely sees Dongmin. He leaves before dawn, returns after midnight. Sometimes she hears his footsteps downstairs, muffled voices in Korean. Then silence. Mrs. Park comes daily. An older Korean woman, efficient and wordless. She cleans, prepares meals, nods at Charlotte's requests without ever really looking at her. The loneliness here is louder than in her old apartment. There, at least, she had street noise, neighbors fighting through thin walls, the living sounds of a building full of struggling people. Here, silence, deathly silence, broken only by the hum of a refrigerator worth more than her car. Charlotte begins exploring, cautiously, afraid of opening the wrong door. She finds a library filled with books in Korean, a home theater with leather seats for 12, a conference room with a table long enough for a corporate board meeting. Everything clean, everything in place, everything dead. One afternoon, she ventures past the kitchen. There's a long hallway with several doors. One is ajar. Darkness beyond. She fumbles for a light switch. Fluorescent bulbs flicker to life. She freezes. It's a gym. Not a home gym. A professional gym. Every machine imaginable. Treadmills, ellipticals, rowing machines. A full rack of dumbbells ranging from tiny to monstrous. Benches, barbells, cable systems. Wall-sized mirrors that reflect everything with brutal honesty. The equipment is expensive, pristine, but not dusty. Someone uses this regularly. Charlotte stands in the doorway, staring at her reflection. A heavy body in a loose house dress, a round face with hopelessness pooled in the eyes. She hates this reflection. She has hated it for years, hated her weakness, her softness, her inability to change anything about her life. But something shifts as she looks at the rows of weights. This is her chance. Not for him. Never for him. For herself. As long as he considers her a nobody, as long as he doesn't notice her, she can transform right under his nose. In his own house with his own equipment, she can become something else. So strong that one day she can look him in the eyes and walk out. Not scurry away like a frightened mouse, but leave, chin up, shoulders back. The woman he thought was nothing, proving she's everything. The resolution comes instantly, burning bright. Charlotte turns off the light, closes the door quietly, returns to her room. She has a goal now, and she has the place to achieve it. 3 a.m. The house is silent. Charlotte puts on old sweatpants and a stretched t-shirt. Barefoot, she pads down to the basement gym. The hallway is lit only by emergency lights. Good. In dim light, her reflection is less clear, less judgmental. She starts simple, just standing on the treadmill. She turns it to the lowest speed. 5 minutes of walking. Sweat pours down her back. Her legs burn. She feels every extra kilogram, every muscle that's never been properly used. The next morning, her whole body aches. She can barely get out of bed. But that night, she goes downstairs again. She adds 5 more minutes, tries a few squats without weights. Her knees tremble. She collapses onto the padded floor. Tears well up. She swallows them. A week later, she attempts the smallest dumbbells, 2 kilograms each. Her arms shake violently. After the third rep, searing pain shoots through her shoulders. She sets down the weights, sits on the floor, hugs her knees, and finally, she cries. Silently, secretly, so no one will hear. Tears for the pain, for the exhaustion, for the hatred of herself, the woman who let life crush her for 26 years. But when the tears run dry, she wipes her face with the hem of her shirt. She stands. She picks up those pathetic tiny dumbbells again and does another set. Because the pain now is the price for her future self, for the Charlotte who won't be afraid, who will be strong, who will never again be suitable. Every night is a battle with her body, which wants to quit. With exhaustion, which begs her to sleep. With despair, which whispers that nothing will ever change. But she doesn't give in, because in this dark room, in complete silence, for the first time in years, she feels in control of something. A month passes. Charlotte can last 20 minutes on the treadmill now. She does lunges, wall push-ups. Her clothes fit differently. Not loose, not yet, but shifting. In the mirror, she sees not a transformation of her body, but a transformation of her eyes. There's a spark there now. Stubborn. Fierce. One night, after an especially brutal workout, exhaustion wins. She sits on a bench to rest. Just for a moment. Her eyelids droop. She doesn't plan to sleep. She wakes to cold. Eyes opening slowly. Confusion. The gym ceiling above her. She's lying on the floor, an exercise mat beneath her. And then she feels it. Someone watching. She turns her head slowly. Dongmin stands in the doorway, illuminated by the hallway light behind him, wearing sweatpants and a black t-shirt instead of his usual suits. He's looking at her sweaty, disheveled body, her soaked shirt, the small dumbbells lying nearby. He doesn't move, doesn't speak. Time stops. Charlotte's mind screams. It's over. He'll be furious. I invaded his space, used his things without permission. She waits for the explosion, the cold order to get out. But there's no explosion. Dongmin just stands there, his stone face unreadable. Only in the depths of his dark eyes does something flicker. Not anger, not mockery. Something else. Interest. Like he's seeing a static object suddenly begin to move on its own. His gaze travels around the room, notes the water bottle, and the towel she folded neatly on the bench. Everything in its place, nothing broken. Then his eyes return to her. He takes one step forward. Their gazes meet. He opens his mouth. Charlotte holds her breath. Continue. One word. Quiet. Without inflection. Then he turns and leaves. Footsteps fade down the corridor. The door remains open. Charlotte lies on the floor for a long time, heart pounding. Continue. What does that mean? Permission? A trap? Is he going to watch? She sits up slowly, body aching from fatigue and adrenaline now. She looks at the open door, the dark corridor beyond. Her secret is revealed. The game has changed, but he said continue, and she will. Now, not just for herself, but out of spite. Spite for him. Spite for the world that called her nothing. She will rise from this floor and become so strong that she'll never feel this cold fear before anyone's gaze again. If you're rooting for Charlotte right now, hit that subscribe button. Let's keep telling the stories that deserve to be heard. Now, Let's continue. The next morning, Charlotte is afraid to return to the gym. Surely it was a trap. He left the door open to see if she'd dare come back. But by evening, curiosity conquers fear. She creeps downstairs, peers through the half-open door. Everything is in place, but something has changed. Next to her old water bottle, a whole case of the same brand. On the bench, a stack of new workout clothes. Dark leggings, technical t-shirts in various sizes. Nothing flashy, just quality. On top, a pair of running shoes, her size. Next to the dumbbells, a rack of clean, soft towels. Charlotte approaches slowly, picks up one of the t-shirts. The fabric is thick, expensive. She looks at the water, the shoes, the towels. This isn't mockery. This is equipment. A silent message. I saw. I know. You may continue. Here's what you need. She feels no joy, only an icy shiver. His attention, even this practical, emotionless kind, terrifies her more than anger, because it's incomprehensible. What's in it for him? She puts on her old stretched clothes anyway, but she takes a new water bottle, begins her workout. Every movement now carries the weight of being watched. She waits for him to appear. He doesn't. Only when she finishes and heads upstairs does she notice a fitness tracker lying on a table in the hallway. Unconnected. New. She picks it up. A tool to count steps, heart rate, calories burned. To measure progress in numbers. Or to keep everything under control. She clasps it around her wrist, cold against her skin. It's not a gift. It's a mark. And a silent endorsement of a secret that is no longer secret. He doesn't return to the gym, but his presence lingers. New things appear regularly. Protein bars when she starts burning more calories. A weightlifting belt when she graduates to barbells. Resistance bands. A foam roller. All appearing silently while she's away. His quiet support begins to feel like surveillance. Every new item is a reminder. He's watching. He knows how much time you spend down there. He tracks your progress. He's aware of everything. What if this is some elaborate game? What if he's raising her like livestock, fattening her for... what? Maybe he made a bet with someone, she thinks. The paranoia growing. Watch me turn this fat bank teller into something presentable. Or worse, preparing her for something terrible. Changes spread through the house. A massage therapist arrives weekly. Mr. Huang's orders. The cook starts preparing special meals. High protein, vegetables, complex carbohydrates, each container labeled with her name. His cold, calculating world wraps around her with invisible tendrils of care. And that care frightens her more than the former indifference. Because behind it lies control. Complete and absolute. Charlotte intensifies her training, not out of gratitude, out of fear and fury. If this is a game, she refuses to be a docile piece. She'll become so powerful that she'll shatter whatever sick plan he's constructed. One evening, returning to her room after a workout, she finds a box on her bed. Simple cardboard, no ribbon. Inside, a dress. Not what she expected. Emerald green, heavy silk. Cut simply but elegantly, the kind of dress she would have touched wistfully in a store, then returned to the rack with a sigh because it would have revealed everything she wanted to hide. She lifts it. The fabric flows like water. No note, just a dress. A silent command. Try it on. She doesn't want to, but curiosity burns stronger. In the bathroom mirror, she strips off her sweaty workout clothes, steps into the dress, zips it up the side. It goes easily, all the way to the top. Charlotte steps back, looks, and freezes. The dress fits. Not just fits, flatters. It hugs her changed figure, accentuates the waist that's slowly emerging, the shoulders that have grown stronger. It doesn't hide her curves. It showcases them as assets, not flaws. She doesn't recognize her reflection. This isn't the exhausted bank teller. This is someone else. Someone with fire in her eyes instead of ashes. Movement in the mirror. Dongmin appears in the doorway. He stops. Looks at her. Not the dress. Her in the dress. For a long, silent moment. Then his gaze meets hers in the glass. Tomorrow evening, he says evenly. We're going out. Dinner. He leaves without waiting for response. Charlotte stands motionless. The dress isn't a gift. It's a test. And a pass into his world. The car stops outside a small but expensive-looking Korean restaurant. Subdued lighting, private booths, the smell of sesame and grilled meat. When they enter, conversations don't stop, but heads turn. First, everyone looks at Dongmin. Recognition flickers across faces. Fear, maybe. Respect, certainly. Then their gazes slide to her. Charlotte sees the gamut in those glances. Surprise, curiosity, reassessment. Men who would never have looked twice at the bank teller now study her with obvious interest. Women evaluate her dress, her posture, her presence, and then comes the envy. Not hostile, quiet. Envy of her confidence, of the way she holds herself beside a man like him. The waiter practically bows. Mr. Huang, your table is ready. They're led to a semi-private booth. Dongmin orders without consulting her, but he orders things she likes, things on her new meal plan. He noticed that too. Today was good, he says, breaking the silence. His voice sounds almost casual. Charlotte sets down her glass. Months of silence, fear, suspicion, hard work, all leading to the question that has burned inside her since the beginning. Dongmin. She looks him straight in the eyes. Was there a bet? He freezes. His face, usually so controlled, goes completely blank for a moment. Like a mask. He doesn't blink. Just stares at her. The silence stretches. Seconds feel like hours. He doesn't say yes. He doesn't say no. He doesn't say, "What are you talking about?" He's simply silent. And in that silence lies everything. Then, slowly, he looks away. Past her. Out the dark window. It doesn't matter, he says finally. Voice low. Flat. He turns and walks toward the restroom. Charlotte sits alone. His answer isn't an answer. It's an evasion. But in that evasion, she reads the truth. If there had been no bet, he would have simply said no. Denied it. But he said it doesn't matter. Which means there was a bet. And suddenly, everything crystallizes. All his silent support. In the equipment, the clothes, the meals, the careful investment in her transformation. Not kindness. Livestock management. He bet someone he could marry the first person who walked in, some pathetic, desperate nobody, and mold her into something presentable. She was never a wife. She was a wager. The humiliation hits her like a physical blow. Her chest tightens. The beautiful dress suddenly feels like a costume. The expensive meal turns to ash in her mouth. All her work, all her sweat and tears and 2 a.m. battles with herself. He wasn't supporting her transformation. He was funding his investment. And she, stupid, lonely, desperate Charlotte, had almost begun to trust him. That night, Charlotte descends to the gym like a woman possessed. She doesn't put on the new clothes. She wears her oldest, most torn t-shirt. She approaches the barbell, looks at the iron plates she once feared. Now they look like weapons. She lifts weights she'd considered impossible a month ago. Her arms burn, her back screams, but she no longer cries. Fury burns inside her. Fury at him, at his lies, at his cold calculations, at this world where people are pawns. Fury at herself, for her weakness, for almost believing the fairy tale. Every repetition is a blow against his plans. Every kilogram lifted is a kilogram of strength she takes from him. She will become strong. Not for him. Not to be his pretty doll. But to break his game. So when he reveals the truth, when he laughs about the bet with whoever's on the other end, she will be ready. so she can look him in the eye and say no, so she can leave and survive alone, so he will regret ever choosing her. She trains until exhaustion makes her vision swim. Sweat pours in streams. Her muscles tremble. She falls to the floor, breathing like she's dying. Then she gets up, looks at her reflection, red-faced, distorted with effort, body becoming a weapon. "Okay, Dongmin," she whispers to the glass. "Play your games. Invest in your little project. I will become the strongest, most dangerous thing you've ever created." Her eyes harden, "And I'll be the first thing to turn on you." Weeks pass. Charlotte transforms. Not just physically, though that's dramatic enough. The dress that once strained now hangs loose. New dresses arrive, smaller sizes. She ignores them, keeps wearing her torn workout clothes in the gym, saving the silk for appearances. But the real transformation is in her eyes. Gone is the dull hopelessness of the bank teller. In its place, steel, focus, barely contained rage. And she learns everything he'll teach her. And he teaches more now. How to read a room, spot a threat, notice who's watching. "That man by the bar," he says during one outing. "He's been looking at his phone too long, not texting, taking photos." "The couple in the corner," she replies. "They haven't touched their food, but they've ordered a third drink." He looks at her. Something flickers in his eyes. Approval. She hates that it still affects her. The night everything changes begins normally. Another restaurant. Another performance of the happy couple. Charlotte wears crimson now, a color she would never have dared before. Her body is unrecognizable, strong, defined. The weight she's lost is staggering, but more staggering is what she's built in its place. Muscle, confidence, cold, focused power. As they wait for their food, a man approaches their table. Well-dressed, smiling, but the smile doesn't reach his eyes. He leans toward Dongmin, whispers something. Dongmin's face transforms. Not anger, something colder. Every muscle tensing. His skin goes pale as marble. The stranger leaves quickly. Dongmin sits motionless, staring at the tablecloth, seeing something else. His phone buzzes. Unknown number. He answers. Listens. Charlotte watches his jaw clench. The tendons in his neck go rigid. His eyes, fixed on hers, darken with pure, barely controlled rage. Then his lips curve into something predatory. He speaks into the phone, quiet, each word a blade. "My wife has nothing to do with this. Your mistakes are your problem. If you touch a single hair..." He doesn't finish the threat, just hangs up, places the phone on the table. His hand trembles slightly. Charlotte holds her breath. "My wife." He said it like he was protecting something valuable, but from what? "Competitors," he says finally, blunt, cold. "They want to hurt me. They saw us here last time. Didn't like how I looked. Too confident, too content." He pauses. "They didn't recognize you." Charlotte blinks. "They have photos from our wedding, the City Hall photos. You were wearing different clothes, different expression, different." He gestures vaguely at her. "Everything. They think I'm cheating, that you're a mistress, that my real wife, the fat, sad bank teller, is sitting at home being humiliated." The words hit like ice water. "They didn't recognize you. They think you're someone else." Her entire framework, built on suspicion and rage, shatters. There was no plan to replace her, no scheme to sell her off. His investment wasn't about winning a bet, it was, "They want to tell my wife," he makes air quotes, "about my affair. Create a scandal. Weaken me through domestic chaos." He almost laughs. "They looked at you and couldn't see the Charlotte who signed those papers. You've changed so completely that my enemies built their entire strategy on not recognizing you." Charlotte sits frozen, all her fury, all her paranoid theories, built on sand. She looks at him, really looks. He's not lying. She's learned to read him. The harsh, absurd truth is written on his face. Her transformation, fueled by rage and spite, has accidentally become his greatest weapon. Something shifts inside her. Not forgiveness, not trust, but recalculation. What now? She asks. Voice quiet but firm. Dongmin leans forward. Now we play their game. By our rules. He outlines the plan. Tomorrow she'll wear the same dress from their wedding, the cheap blue one that once made her invisible. She'll walk into this restaurant as that Charlotte, and they'll watch everyone realize the two women are the same. A message, powerful and silent. You underestimated her. You underestimated us. Are you ready? He asks. Charlotte thinks about the men who dismissed her, the enemies who saw a fat bank teller and assumed weakness, the world that always looked through her. I'm ready, she says, and there's steel in her voice. The next morning, Charlotte takes the blue dress from the back of her closet. It's wrinkled, cheap fabric, a relic from another life. She puts it on. The dress that once strained at every seam now hangs like a sack. The zipper slides up with space to spare. It sags at the shoulders, gaps at the waist. She looks in the mirror and sees a ghost. But a ghost with different eyes. The posture is straight. The chin is lifted. The gaze is sharp. In this shapeless, sad dress, she looks more powerful than ever. Because her strength isn't in the fabric. It's in what she's become. When they enter the restaurant, the reaction is immediate. The waiter who knows them pauses with menus in hand. His eyes go wide, looking at the dress. Then her face. Then the dress again. Whispers follow them to their table. Is that the same woman? It can't be. Look at her posture. It's her. But how? Charlotte sits down. Movement smooth. Confident. She meets the stares without flinching. At a nearby table, men who wouldn't have glanced at her before now watch with something like awe. Dongmin orders. Watches the room. A predatory satisfaction gleams in his eyes. The old dress no longer signals poverty. It signals challenge. Yes, Charlotte thinks. This is me. I can wear anything because my power isn't in clothes. The message is delivered. Later, in a private club across town, a man reports to his boss. It was her, he says nervously. The same woman, but different. She's changed. Everyone saw it. Everyone in that restaurant. The boss, older, gray-templed, cold-eyed, stares at two photographs. The first, Charlotte at City Hall. Heavy, frightened, drowning in a cheap blue dress. The second, Charlotte last week in crimson silk. Confident, beautiful, unrecognizable. He slowly tears the wedding photo in half. We were blind, he hisses. We looked for weakness. He turned it into strength. When she turned it into strength, the subordinate doesn't dare breathe. Our plan didn't just fail. It worked for him. Now everyone sees not a burden wife, but a transformation, a mystery. It gives him respect, makes him stronger. Silence hangs heavy. Dongmin won without throwing a single punch. And the weapon that won him the fight? A bank teller no one thought to notice. Drop a comment if you've ever been underestimated. Subscribe if you want to see where this goes next. Let's keep breathing life into stories that were never meant to stay silent. Days later, they're walking along an empty waterfront when Dongmin's hand touches her elbow. A signal. Two behind us. Don't turn around. Speed up. They quicken their pace. She feels the presence behind them, footsteps matching theirs. Around a corner, two more men, blocking the path. 4 total. Everything happens fast. Dongmin shoves her behind a parked delivery truck and pivots to face the attackers. A collapsible baton appears in his hand. He moves like liquid violence. Fast, efficient. But there are 4 of them. Charlotte presses against the cold metal, heart pounding. She sees one of the men, knocked down by Dongmin, start to rise. His hand reaches toward his belt, pulling something out. A knife? A gun? Instinct overrides thought. Months of training. Months of rage. All compressing into a single impulse. She doesn't think. She acts. She grabs a glass bottle from a recycling bin and hurls it with every ounce of strength her rebuilt shoulders can generate. It smashes into the man's hand. He cries out, drops whatever he was reaching for. His attention shifts to her. That moment is enough. Dongmin strikes. The man goes down. Using the chaos, he grabs Charlotte's arm. They run. Dark alley, crowded street, taxi, home. In the hallway, they stand catching their breath. Dongmin turns to face her. His hair is disheveled, knuckles raw. He looks at her differently now. Not as cargo, not as investment, as someone who was there, in battle, who acted. You threw the bottle, he says. She nods, throat too dry for words. He steps closer. It was right. His voice is low, rough, real. You didn't freeze? You didn't scream? You reacted. You distracted him. Gave me time. He pauses. You are strong, Charlotte. Not a compliment. An acknowledgement. Of fact. Of equality. He sees her now. Not the bet wife. Not the project. Her. The next week, someone tries to kidnap Charlotte. 3 men. A boutique. She's alone. They think she'll be easy prey. The boss's wife, even transformed, still just a woman. They're wrong. She throws her purse into one face, pepper sprays another, breaks free from a grab using a technique Dongmin taught her, uses a coat hanger like a weapon, triggers the store alarm by kicking a glass display, holds them off until backup arrives. When Dongmin's men burst in, they find her standing among chaos, attackers groaning, glass scattered, clothes everywhere. She's breathing hard, but standing. They look at her with something new in their eyes. Respect. That night, Dongmin finds her on the rooftop. The city spreads below like a sea of lights. I once thought marriage was a deal, he says quietly. A stupid one. A bet. $5 million to marry the first person who walked in and hold out for a year. Charlotte listens. She already knew. But hearing it from him changes something. You came along, he continues. I thought it would be a prison sentence for both of us. You'd be my burden. I'd be your captor. He turns to face her. I was wrong. Silence. You broke everything. You entered my world and didn't shatter. You changed. Changed the rules. Changed. He searches for the word. Me. Charlotte looks at the lights. At him. At the strange, twisted path that brought her here. And the bet? She asks. The year doesn't matter anymore. I don't remember if I won or lost. I don't care. He steps closer. The game is different now. Harder. More dangerous. And in this game, I need you beside me. He doesn't command. He offers. Equal to equal. If you want to stay, he adds. Charlotte thinks about the bank, the mold-stained apartment, the life where no one saw her. Then she thinks about the gym at 3 a.m., the sweat, the tears, the fury that forged her into something new. She thinks about spite, and realizes it's transformed too, into something that might, impossibly, be choice. I'm already in, she says. He nods. They stand shoulder to shoulder on the edge of the roof, looking out over their city, the battlefield, the arena of their new shared life. Fear and wagers are behind them. Ahead lies only them, their strength, their strange, hard-won respect. But Charlotte knows the game isn't over. Somewhere in the city, enemies are regrouping. The men who tried to kidnap her are just foot soldiers. The real powers. The ones who underestimated her. Who saw a fat bank teller and assumed weakness. They're still out there. And they've learned something dangerous now. That Huang Dongmin's wife isn't a vulnerability. She's a weapon. One they helped create. One that's just getting started. This is a story about becoming. About spite as fuel. about the quiet power of refusing to stay small. If Charlotte's transformation resonated with you, hit subscribe. Drop a comment. What would you do if you discovered you were someone's bet? Because Charlotte chose to stay. Not out of love, not yet. Out of power. Out of spite, transformed into something stronger. She went from invisible bank teller to the woman who makes mafia bosses nervous. And she's just getting started. The real story? It begins now.